Okay, so we've identified many ways that making predictions can help us when we read. Like before we read, you just predicted what the main idea of this book would be. You told me that you think it's going to be about animals. And that's going to help us from a bunch of different ways. When you know what the main idea is, that's going to keep you motivated to keep reading, to enjoy reading and find out more. It's going to help you with unknown words. When you come to a word, you can think back to what that main idea is, and it can help you to figure out those words a little better. And it can help you with key details. When you come to an event and you can think back to your main idea and you can wonder, does that fit? Does that make sense? We also predicted the author's purpose. You thought it was going to be to entertain. I thought inform. We'll find out. But how does that help us? So when you predict what the author's purpose is, it you can make sure to monitor your reading to make sure that it makes sense, right? To make sure that you're staying on task. Like if you come to a bunch of questions in this text, you might have to revisit your author's purpose, right? You might have to stop and pick a different purpose. Um, and that's pretty important. I think that while you're reading, you might have to revisit and if you're onto the wrong task, then you might have to pick a different purpose to be sure that you're staying on task. And then you also thought that this book would be nonfiction. That's another predictor. The way that predicting if a text is fiction or nonfiction is so that it can help you remember what you're reading for. It's important to change those predictions as well as necessary. So, all these predictions are things that we can make before we read any book, right? Your book at school, books for fun, um, even books on the internet. Definitely, I'd think about those things before you read. So, there's something else that making all these predictions can help us with, and that's called fluency. So, fluency is when you read a book and it's pretty easy, it sounds really good, you don't make a lot of breaks in your reading. Um, you don't want to stop between words, you just want to make sure that you stop at periods and you make a little break by commas, right? Um, so, when we read a book and it's fluent and it's not fluent, then what you have to do is you're spending a lot of time and a lot of your energy and a lot of your brain functions on trying to be fluent. Whereas if you are fluent, you can spend that time and energy and brain functions on things like understanding what you're reading and comprehending it. That's called comprehending. And you can spend that time on trying to read a little bit faster. So there are other ways of improving our fluency than predicting, such can you think of any ways to improve fluency? To make your reading sound a little smoother, a little bit faster. What do you think about rereading? If you were to read this book and it took you a little bit because there were words that you didn't know and some ideas that you weren't really understanding, do you think that if you read it a second time, it would sound even smoother, even faster? There'd be way less words that you didn't know. Um, I think that that's really important. I think that rereading should be done to almost every book. Um, so, other than predicting and rereading, another way that you can also become more fluent with your reading is previewing a text. So by previewing, what you're going to do, it's kind of like predicting, but what you do to preview is you go through and you just skim it. Okay, are there any words that I'm seeing that I don't know? And let's say I come to this word and I don't know it. Before I read my book, I'm going to look this word up. I'm going to figure out what it means in this sentence so that when I am ready to read the book, everything's going to flow and I'm not going to have to stop to wonder what the meaning of this word is and how to pronounce it. Okay, so with that, I'm going to have you read the book now and think about the predictions that you made, what the author's purpose was, and that it was nonfiction, and the main idea, okay?